just knitting. I'm just knitting, no thoughts. I am going to be giving away a $50 gift card. Hello, and welcome back to True Summer Knits. I am Maddie, aka True Summer Knits, and today we are back with another knitting podcast. So this is a really exciting knitting podcast because this is my first video since I hit 1,000 subscribers. Which is super cool. I did not think that would ever happen to me. I mean, I hoped it would, but I didn't think it would. So before I get into the rest of the video, I just want to kind of announce I am going to be doing a little giveaway to celebrate hitting 1,000 subscribers, and I'm going to be talking more about that at the end of the video. So stick around, or I guess just skip to the end, whichever you want to do, and I will tell you all about that and how to enter. But yeah, thank you for 1,000 subscribers, and if you're watching this and you're not subscribed yet, you should do that. I'm just gonna get right into it. So, if you have not noticed, I'm currently wearing my first and only finished object of the episode. I have featured this in my last podcast episode, and I think I talked about it briefly in a couple of my pattern roundup videos. This is the Paul sweater by Moreca Knits. I'm going to insert some footage of me wearing it. I've got a video of me wearing it before blocking, and then this is after blocking. But let's just get into the basics. This is knit out of Knitting for All of merino and soft silk mohair held together in the shade limestone, which is kind of hard to depict it on camera, I guess, as accurately as it is in real life. It is very much a white, but not a pure white. It has like this grayish, greenish undertone to it that it's really hard to detect. Like in some lights it just looks like it's pure white, but it is just slightly more cool toned and slightly, I guess, more muted than like a pure white. I guess that would be the best way to describe it. But yeah, I worked on this for a while. Let's see how long it took me. So this took me 3 weeks and 2 days. From what I can remember, I started this on August 14th and I finished this. I'm currently filming this on Sunday the 8th, but I finished it on Friday the 6th, so 2 days ago. So yeah, really that's not that long, but I don't know. When you do like a stockinette only project, I feel like it gets to a point where it kind of feels like it's going on for a while. Like, you know, it's exciting when you're up top and you're knitting like the saddle shoulder and you're doing like increases and stuff. And then I did the sleeves, which felt like they took a while. I actually tried to film a short where I showed how long it took me to knit the sleeve, but the video quality of every like little clip I filmed was so bad, I was like, nobody's gonna want to look at this. But I think it took me like maybe 8 hours or maybe 9 hours of total knitting time to knit like one sleeve. Like I would basically, every time I started knitting the sleeve, I would turn on the stopwatch on my phone, and then I would keep it going while I knitted, and then like if I had to stop to go to the bathroom or do anything else, I would pause the timer. So it was like all in knitting time, which was fun. I'd like to kind of do that experiment for like a sweater, you know, and like maybe incorporate it into like a video idea or something. But it was kind of hard to like actually remember keeping track of pausing and stopping and starting. I think there were a couple times I kind of had to figure it out in my brain, like, do I need to add a little time or take a little time away, you know? But it was a fun experiment. It definitely made me knit faster. I had this, almost like this pressure, like this motivation, like, oh, this timer's going. I have to knit, I want to knit fast. I want to get as much done as I can in this hour. So I was doing like hourly check-ins, you know? I'm sad that I won't get to post that, but I'm going to try to recreate that again in the future with something else and just get like slightly better quality so it doesn't look like garbage. But yeah. But let me tell you like the details about this sweater. I told you about the yarn, and the pattern is of course the Paul sweater. Moreca Knits is a great designer. I think she is going to be really big. She is similar in style to like petite knit and my favorite things knitwear. Like she has like elevated basics. She knits a lot, and then like Knitting for Olive and like Cardiff Cashmere and like those kind of yarns that the other big designers like to use. But even though her designs are very similar, I do feel like she has her own thing. I don't fully know how to describe her thing. It's just something you just kind of notice when you look at her body of work. but I really like her designs. She also has a Paul cardigan, which is similar, but it's like a V-neck cardigan, and it's really beautiful and nice looking too. So I would definitely check that out if you're looking for a simple saddle shoulder sweater or cardigan to knit. But yeah, this is a saddle shoulder. Let's see if I can kind of show off the details to you. So you can see here, the saddle shoulder extends all the way to the back of the neck, and it seems to go invisibly into the sleeve. So the way that that is constructed is you cast on invisibly here. So you're doing a provisional cast on. You cast on, I don't remember if she tells you to do it with a crochet hook or another way. I just followed a provisional cast on tutorial that included the crochet hook, I think, because that's what I'm used to doing, but I'm not sure if she specifies which technique she used. I know for like most of the techniques she uses in her patterns, she has filmed like a quick tutorial video and they're linked. So I know she's got her own tutorial, but I didn't follow it, so I'm not sure exactly what technique she used, but I used the crochet provisional cast on. So right here, you see, if you're not quite sure what I mean, see you've got this sort of seam here at the shoulder, and down here where it's like this square. So you cast on invisibly here, and you knit this square, basically, until you get here, and then I think increases and short rows are worked so that you get this piece that goes all the way here towards the back. And you'll see there's a seam down the middle. So you would stop at the seam, you'd leave those stitches live, you'd redo the whole thing, but from the opposite direction, coming from this side of the sweater, or the sleeve. And then once you meet in the middle, you're doing a 3-needle bind off to sew them together in the middle. And that creates like a really clean line. Although for some reason mine is like, before I blocked it, it was kind of crooked. You have to tell me if it's crooked still. To me, it was feeling like it was kind of leaning towards one side, that little seam in the middle. But I would have to take a look and see if it's still doing it. I'm not quite sure. But it is kind of like a wide-ish V-neck. I feel like it's meant to be more like this, but for whatever reason, it kind of just naturally sits like this on me, which honestly I feel looks better on me. So maybe I'm just subconsciously pulling it like that. But other than the saddle shoulder, it kind of just has I would call it, River, stop! I would call it more like a modified drop shoulder because you are doing increases for the armhole. Not many, but if you look really close, you can see where those increases are worked right here. And then I think you cast on no, you don't cast, I can't remember if you cast on stitches because I know it's knit and then you must when you meet in the middle. And then afterwards you'll go back and start with picking up those invisibly cast on stitches, and then you'll continue picking up around the armhole at the specified pickup rate, and then you just knit the sleeve in the round. My sleeves might not be perfectly even, like where I did my decreases. I really don't know. I don't think it's something you can exactly tell, but I'm so disorganized when it comes to doing sleeve decreases. I really need to do like what other people do, and you know, they take those little clip-on stitch markers and they'll like clip them on to every decrease round so they can, because obviously it's easy to read your work and see where you did the last decrease round, but my problem is that I would keep forgetting that I'm supposed to be doing decreases. So sometimes I might get like a few rows past, or like even further past, or like too close, and then I would just kind of like, I don't want to like go back and re-knit it. So I kind of fudged around with it. I think on this one, I ended up completely changing the decrease rate so that it matched to this one more evenly. Like, I did more decreases sooner, I think, so that they would look more similar. I don't really think it looks strange or you can tell or anything. But yeah, I think from now on, I am going to try that, where every decrease round you stick a colored stitch marker into that round, so you can easily see and be reminded of when you last worked decrease rounds. Because my brain, it's like, I'm just knitting, no thoughts. And then after a while, I'm like, hey, I think I'm supposed to be doing something right now. And I'm like, shoot, I have to go back and fix it or redo some math. So If you're like me, I would consider trying that method and see if it helps you out, because they are a little off. And I thought I knit the sleeves to the same length, which, by the way, you might notice that the sleeves are, can I even show you? Hello. The sleeves are kind of long, especially when I stand. They go almost down to like my knuckles. And I like that, I don't mind it, but when I knit them, I actually thought I knit the sleeves too short. Like, they were coming right maybe to my wrist bone, and I think one of them was like slightly shorter than the other. And I was like, it's like not the perfect length, but sometimes it's hard to tell when you're knitting exactly where it's gonna hit, like when you're just wearing it naturally. But then I blocked it, and the sleeves just widened in length so much, like a couple inches. So they're now like down here, which is like a good length for me. I like that length more. So yeah, I don't know why. The only thing I've knit with this combination before has been my fitted Robinson wrap cardigan. And this kind of sweater where it's bigger and less fitted and like more oversized, it acts a lot differently because obviously there's more like hang, if that makes sense. So things kind of stretch and drape over your body differently. And I just felt like the fabric behaved a lot different than the Robinson wrap cardigan. And I actually really like it. It's very drapey. Like extremely, like it just kind of falls in like a wave over your body when you put it on. And if you've worked with this kind of yarn combination before in a similar design, I'm sure you understand what I mean. So I think that's a big part of the reason why the sleeves stretched out. I basically explained all the upper construction here. Once you get under the underarms, you just knit the body for a while. I did change my length of the body, and that reminds me to talk about something. If you follow me on Instagram, which if you don't, you should, I sometimes will post a lot in my stories about like my projects more as I'm doing them. Like not so much like aesthetic photos like that would go on my Instagram feed, just like posting updates, regular photos of what I'm doing. And I was convinced I was going to run out of yarn. Like it really seemed like it. So basically, I had 5 balls of the merino and the mohair, and I knit everything down to the underarms, and then I cut the yarn and went to go do the sleeves and the neckband, because I mentioned this before, but I really just like being able to, once I get to the body, knit the whole body, and then once you're done with that, you're done with the whole thing. I don't like finishing a body and then having to go back and do sleeves. I prefer doing it the other way around. After I was almost done with the second sleeve, it seemed like I wasn't going to have that much yarn left. I think I had 1.5 balls of merino left and 1 ball of mohair. And then I had like a little bit of extra yarn that I had salvaged from like the back panel piece of my cloud blouse whip. So I had like a little bit of extra yarn, but it was like a tiny ball. It wasn't like that much. So I was convinced I was gonna run out of yarn. I was going to that yarn shop in Birmingham that following weekend. I called them, they didn't have it. So I went ahead and ordered more, and I'll just go ahead and spoil it for you. I have tons of yarn left. I mean, not tons, but plenty. I wasn't even close. But the thing is, I didn't take into account that like with my body type, I'm always going to make adjustments to the length because I'm short, and even though I'm short, I also have an especially short torso, so just my proportions are different. So if a sweater is too long or like a normal length, it just looks too long on me. So of course I was going to shorten it, and I didn't take that into account. So I got to a point, I think they said they wanted you to knit maybe like 16 or 17 inches of just the stockinette part of the body before you start the ribbing, and then it's like 6 inches of ribbing. And I did less ribbing. I think it was supposed to be 5 inches on the sleeves. I did slightly longer arms, and then I did slightly less ribbing, also just because I have kind of like long arms for my body, so it kind of was just sort of, it's slightly adjusting things to like better fit my proportions. Like after having dressed myself for so long, I kind of know what proportions look good on me. And then for the body, I knit the stockinette part a couple inches shorter, and then I ended up knitting the body ribbing to the same length as the sleeve ribbing because I thought it looked good. I was going to do it a little longer, but then when I tried it on, I was like, no, this is like the perfect length. And I'm just going to put that video up of me wearing it again just so you can see what I mean. But yeah, so I measured it, and this is not even counting the yarn that I bought. I have 33 grams left of the merino, or 34 grams, and then I have 4 grams left of the mohair. And I ordered 2 balls of mohair and a ball of merino. So I'm gonna have like plenty left. And the only thing is, like, I feel like I don't have quite enough of the merino to like make a summer top. I thought, you know, maybe if I had closer to 50, I would have enough to make like a summer top, but I don't think I do. And I don't know that I want to go out of my way to buy another ball just so I can use up those scraps. But the mohair, I did think that what would be a nice thing to do would be to knit like one of those like mohair kind of shawl things that, you know, you can wear over like an evening dress or something. I'm not a shawl knitter, but I've always seen those like mohair shawls or scarves, and I've always thought that that would be the only kind of thing in that category that I would get any use out of. And maybe not all the time, but I just think they're so beautiful. And I feel like this kind of off-white, grayish white color would not be the worst color to have that item in. And I believe 2 balls of mohair should be enough. So that might just be something that I save for that purpose in the future. But I don't know what to do with the mohair. I guess I'll just keep it around, and maybe if I want to use the like merino for like one of my designs or something in the future, I can just keep it like to make swatches out of or something. I don't know. I wish I had thought about it a little more before I bought it, but there's not much I can do now. I can't really return it to Copenhagen, so I don't know. If you have any ideas of what I could do with 84 grams of merino, let me know. If there's anything I might be able to squeeze out of that, I don't know. Yeah, for the bind-offs, I did it as she recommends in the pattern, which is, she calls it an Italian bind-off, but it's like a tubular bind-off. Like, you knit all your ribbing, you work 2 rounds of double knitting, and then you do your sewn bind-off. It was really like relaxing to do on the sleeves, and then once I got to the body, it felt like it was taking like 10 years. I thought I was never gonna end. I don't know why people, in my opinion, I don't personally understand why people are so against tubular bind-offs versus Italian bind-offs, because I didn't feel like any of the effort was like too much effort when it came to doing the rounds of double knitting. It was just the amount of sewing off that I had to do that was like, that started to get tedious. But I didn't feel like doing the double knitting rounds were any more difficult than just doing like regular ribbing. Just felt like I was doing another round or 2 of ribbing essentially. And I think this is an unpopular opinion in the YouTube knitting community. I think it's totally worth it. I don't know that I'm ever gonna want to go back to an Italian bind-off because I don't know how, personally, I feel like I can tell a difference. I don't know how other people can see the difference or whatever, but it creates, and I think I talked about this a little bit in my last one, it creates this very clean, very robust edge, and it's almost just like it has like a double layer. Well, I guess that makes sense. It feels like it has this double layer of fabric right at the edge, like you've reinforced the edge of the sleeve, and it feels so nice and clean. It feels, it might be a little less stretchy. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've done just an Italian bind-off. I do have some things I could check on, but it still stretches enough, and it makes it look so much cleaner to me. So, I don't know. I feel like I might be sticking with the tubular bind-off, because I just do think that slight more effort does really make, it's worth the effort. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. Oh, I guess the only other things I have to say about this are Moreca Knits is a great pattern writer. Her patterns look so clean and professional. Like, they're almost just like beautiful to look at just by themselves, like the document. If you like her designs, I recommend her completely. I know she's got a new design out, the Solène cardigan, or the Celine cardigan. And yeah, just check her out. I think she's gonna be a very big designer. She's like up and coming, you know what I mean? But other than that, that is my finished object. And I guess I will go right into my whips. I only have two, and one of them's not gonna be much to share because it's just another version of my basic boat neck tank. But I will show you my other one first, and then I'll talk about that one a little bit. If you've kept up with my podcast, you know that I was working on my second design, which I was calling the autumnal top, and it was supposed to be a slightly looser fitting, sleeveless sweater with a twisted rib, hem, and turtleneck. I knit that first sample, and it wasn't exactly turning out the way I wanted it to. I never actually finished it. I got most of it finished. And another thing was that the construction was very different. So I wasn't fully confident on constructing it from the top down when I started that one. So I did it from the bottom up. I just felt like the construction was a little clunky. I felt like I put a lot of time into it, and then I didn't end up liking the fit, and I was like, well, there's nothing I could do about it because I was knitting it bottom up, so it wasn't like I could just check the fit early on and go back and make the changes if I don't like it. So I ended up, I do plan on finishing it eventually, but I want to be able to start working on this actual design and pattern. So I had bought one yarn, I can show it to you, that I thought would work good for the design. And when I say works good for the design, I'm going to go into a little more detail about what I meant by that. So the properties of Picardo cashmere, they have a very slight halo. It's very drapey. It's lightweight, very soft, and that all was kind of what I was envisioning for this project, because I wanted it to have a little bit of ease, not much, and I wanted to have very slight waist shaping. And that drapiness and that softness just kind of helps it just like fall against your body and, you know, kind of cling to your body a little bit, but not be like tight fitting. And it was part of like the vision that I wanted. So when that first sample didn't work out, I didn't want to immediately go buy Cardiff cashmere again, because I was also thinking like when I make this a pattern and I'm like selling it, I don't want the only yarn I recommend to be like cashmere. I'd like to have other yarns. So no matter what, I was going to be making another sample, and I plan on doing that anyway. But I was going to make another sample with like either a cheaper or more accessible yarn. So when that didn't work out, I was like, okay, I'm just going to find a different yarn. And then this yarn was on sale. I talked about this in my last episode, but I'm just going to talk about it again. This is the Rowan Island Blend Fine, and you get the picture. It's really beautiful color. It's like a grayish purple. It looks a little strange in this light. But the blend of this is 70%, I think, let's see. 70% merino wool, 15% alpaca, and 15% silk. So I thought that would be enough to give it the properties that I wanted. And for some reason, it doesn't. I'm not sure why. This yarn knits up a little strange. I knit it up on, it's meant to be a sport weight, and to me, it's got this density to it that almost makes it thicker than a sport weight. To me, it looks more like a DK weight, but some kind of, the strand like this, I could see it being a sport weight, but it knit up to this. First of all, I knit it up on 3.25 millimeter needles, which is the recommended needle size. I wanted to get a gauge of 26 stitches because that's what I got with my Cardiff cashmere. And I got something ridiculous with like 3.25 millimeters, like 30 stitches per, like all the stitches were compressing together. I mean, I got that just fine with the Cardiff cashmere, and it was creating this like dense fabric, and it just didn't have like the drape or the properties that I wanted. I don't know, the wool, they say it's merino, and I believe that it is, but I don't feel like it's a super fine, soft merino. I think it's just got like a little bit more density to it. So this just was not giving what I wanted it to be giving. So I went looking in my stash, thinking of like what other yarn I could use, because I really wanted to at least knit this sample in something that had the properties I wanted it to have, so I could figure it out. and this wasn't doing it. I'm gonna find something else to do with this, by the way. So if you can think of anything that I could make out of 5 hanks of this, please let me know. Like some kind of garment or something that I could get out of 5 skeins of this. But I went looking in my stash, and I found this yarn, and I'm gonna grab a new ball of it so I can show you. So I've had this yarn for a long time, since like I just started knitting. I got it at like a somewhat local yarn store that they don't have too much yarn, and it's not like a ton of stuff that like I tend to use. But I did find this yarn and I really liked it at the time. I just didn't really know kind of what I was doing then or what I was gonna use it for. I thought maybe an April cardigan. And it is berocco folio, which sadly, and this is very sad to say because this yarn truly is perfect for my project. This is, I think you can buy it on like a couple of sites, but they have very limited colors and they don't make it anymore. This is a 65% superfine alpaca, 35% rayon from bamboo fiber, and they claim it's a DK weight, and it's the exact same situation as Cardiff cashmere. It's like the same thickness and weight. It's a very light DK, like bordering on sport weight, and I knit it up to a sport weight gauge. It's very thin, you can see, but it's got a little bit of a plumpness from the alpaca. This yarn, it's really sad they discontinued this because this is like, it feels just like cashmere to me. Like it's just as soft. The rayon gives it this slight sheen, like slight drape. It has like a nice fuzz halo from the alpaca. It's super soft. It drapes beautifully, like even just in a little swatch, it drapes so beautifully. And it has like a very, very slight heather from the 2 different fiber types, which I think you can see here. It's an amazing yarn, and it's perfect for this project. I understand the properties that I'm looking for. I think the biggest thing is alpaca content, maybe mostly alpaca content, maybe an alpaca silk blend, or a blend with alpaca, silk, and merino, but more alpaca than merino. I think that is going to kind of create what I'm looking for. And so I'm going to be looking for more yarns like that I can recommend. One yarn that looks really good is the Hobby Alpaca Silk. It's like a fingering sport weight. They say the gauge is 26 stitches per 4 inches, which is exactly what I'm going for. So when I knit my second sample, when this eventually gets tested, I think I'm either going to use that yarn or to try to get one of my testers to use that yarn, and I'll use another one. But yeah, just because this yarn is discontinued, even though I'm knitting my first sample in it, I am going to be looking for other yarns to officially recommend. By the way, this is maybe a little difficult to tell on camera, but it's a very cool toned brown. It's so cool toned it almost has this purplish hue to it. It's very nice on me. It's like a good true summer brown. I'm not sure how that's registering on camera. My lighting is a little bit warm. But yeah, I'm obsessed with this. So this is going to be my autumnal top 2.0, and I'm starting to rethink the name. But thinking about it more and thinking about the qualities I wanted to have and like really how I wanted it to look and how I wanted it to fit, it's kind of giving me this like classic like 50s elegance type of thing. And so I was kind of thinking of calling it the Hepburn top, like Audrey Hepburn. I don't know. You tell me what you think, because I don't know when this is going to come out, and I don't want to limit myself to the autumnal top, especially if it doesn't come out in that time frame. And I felt like the last sample had like slightly different vibes, so I feel like this one is more of like a Hepburn top. But I don't know. Give me your thoughts. I'm probably overthinking this, but this is just things I think about. But I haven't even shown you the sample. There's not much to show yet because I've only just started it. I was really putting a lot of my effort into focusing on my test knit and finishing this sweater so I could focus more on the other things that I have to get done. I spent a lot of time like planning out like how I was gonna knit it. So all I've basically got is I've started the back panel, and it's just stockinette, so it is very difficult to even show you like what the back panel is looking like. But it's kind of like you would work a drop shoulder. So I cast on for the entire width of the back. Basically, I work short rows to, the back neck is kind of just level, and then it slopes downward for the shoulders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit the back panel, I don't think I'm going to knit it all the way down to the armholes because I'm not 100% convinced on like the exact stitch count I want around the bust. I'm kind of going between 2.5 to 4 inches of positive ease. So I think I'm going to knit like a few inches into the armhole, but considerably before I start increasing. Then I'm going to pick up all these stitches at the shoulder, kind of like you would for like a drop shoulder type thing, and not cast on, but start working short rows and some increases to shape the shoulders up here and get like that round neck. I'm hoping to have like a more shallower neck because I want it to be like a fitted turtleneck, and then I'm going to see how that fits, like if I want to have more ease around the bust or if I feel like it's kind of close to what I want and I only need to add a little bit of stitches, you know what I mean? And then I can go back and start knitting down to the armholes. That way I have a plan and I don't not have enough ease or have too much ease. I just kind of regret the way I went about it last time, and I wish I'd gone in with like a little more of a plan, or at least a way to ensure that I was knitting something I liked. But you'll live and you'll learn. So yeah, I'll show again the top that like kind of inspired me to make this. I just really like the vibes. I got a vision. I feel like this is very much my style. So hopefully now that I'm done with the sweater, I can put a lot of work into this, and I can have something to show for it soon. I'm really excited to have another pattern come out. It's very exciting. But that's kind of all I have to say about it right now. There is going to be, a little bit of waist shaping, not too much, kind of like what I explained earlier. And then the turtleneck and the bottom are going to be in half twisted rib, just like the other sample I made, but it's just going to have more ease and a different construction. And then I'm thinking of still doing just maybe double knitted edges around the armholes, just thin ones, to kind of create that full stockinette look. I don't want to put ribbing around the armholes for sure. Yeah, that's all I have to say about this top right now. Let me know what you think about the name, and if you can think of any other yarns that fit that gauge and kind of fit that description, like alpaca silk content or alpaca bamboo content, drape, a little bit of a halo, please comment it down below. I would love your suggestions to see what I could possibly knit another sample in since this yarn is discontinued. So my other work in progress, it's funny because first of all, this is another basic boat neck tank. And this is actually something I cast on before, but then I realized I had to film the tutorial video. So I'm actually knitting it now so I can knit it on camera. So this is just another basic boat neck tank. If you have not seen my videos so far, basic boat neck tank is my first original design, and I also want to announce, as of right now, it's looking like the pattern and the full video tutorial are going to come out on September 22nd, which is a Sunday. So here's my plan, because I haven't talked too much in detail about this. It is going to have a full video tutorial. I'm not going to be showing like how to knit and purl, but it's just going to have the instructions on knitting this top and some tips and tricks for making sure it fits you well. I'm also going to be releasing a full written pattern, which has been tested and everything, on Ravelry. And tell me if this sounds good to you guys, but I was thinking of setting it at a price, but just straight up saying like this can easily be a free pattern, just use this code. I just figured I'd set it to a price. I don't expect people to pay for it, but I know some people have said they wanted to, so I guess it's just an option if people want to support me. But I mean, obviously the pattern is free on YouTube. You can download it for free on there. I just want to kind of establish a body of work, sort of, or a piece of work before I get really more into like creating and selling more of my own patterns, if that makes sense. So tell me if that sounds good to you, but so far that is my plan, and yeah, September 22nd. I'm so excited. Most of my testers I think are finished. It's looking so good on everybody. I am so excited. I'm really proud of like this pattern that I've created. So I'm really excited for you guys to see it. And I know to me it's like an autumn-y top, because it's like, I feel like the boat neck kind of has this like elegant like fall look where you could like wear it with like a blazer or like cardigans, some straight leg jeans, Mary Janes, and just look very like polished, you know what I mean? Especially if you knit it in like a merino. So yeah, I think even if it's, mid-fall or like a month into fall, I still think if you knit it you could get a lot of use out of it, and it's a super quick knit. I knit the last one in 11 days, and that was with me like actively writing the pattern and like figuring out the math and everything. So I just cast this on yesterday, and I started filming it, so I don't think this is going to take me much time. I've only put a pause on it because I've gotten to like the next step, so I have to go back and film the next step before I can keep knitting it. But yeah, I just wanted to make that little announcement. I've got a lot of announcements in today's episode. But this is, by the way, Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in the shade Blueberry Ice Cream. So those are all my works in progress. I'm going to briefly show you a couple acquisitions. I sort of talked about one of them in my last episode, and then I'm going to tell you about the giveaway, and we're going to be done for the day. I just realized one of these skeins has been in the back of the screen the entire time, but this is my acquisition. I did talk about this in my August pattern releases, but I went to Knit Beham in Birmingham, Alabama. They were a great store. Everyone there was super nice, and I got a sweater quantity of Brooklyn tweed tones in the shade, I don't know, I said it was deco in the last episode, but I'm not actually confident that that's what it is. I couldn't really find it. The label says, like the sticker says deco, but I don't know that that is fully accurate. I'm gonna see if it says it on the inside. I truly don't know. I think it's deco. I'm just gonna say that. It's just like this turquoisey color. It's, you know, like greenish, bluish turquoise. And again, I keep asking this, but I'd love to get your opinion. At first, I thought I would knit like a cardigan, like maybe a braided loop cardigan with this. But then I thought this kind of color is probably better for a sweater. But I also just get so much more use out of cardigans, so I don't know if I should just knit a cardigan. But then again, this does feel like a bright color for a cardigan. So should I just knit a sweater? I was thinking about knitting the tulip loop sweater out of this, but at first I was thinking of knitting the braided loop cardigan out of this. Or I can knit the Eva cardigan out of this. I really just don't know what I should do, and sometimes I just like being told what to do. So if you're watching this, comment below, and please tell me what to do. I would appreciate your input. But this is a worsted weight yarn by the company Brooklyn Tweed. It's 140 yards or 128 meters per, it doesn't say how many grams is on here. I genuinely don't know how many grams this is. I mean, it's a thick yarn, so it might just be 50. I could weigh it, but I don't know. There's not much information on this tag. Like, no information at all. Why does it not tell you the amount of yarn you're getting? I don't know. That is really strange. But whatever. It's 4 1/4 to 5 stitches per inch. So that's like 18 to 20 stitches per 4 inches. And they recommend 4.5 to 5.5 millimeter needles. And it's a woolen spun 3-ply 24 microns. I mentioned it's a lot, I guess, more woolly or like rougher than I'm used to using, because I tend to like very soft yarns, but I still wouldn't call it rough. Like, it's still got like a softness to it. It's just I'm not used to like using yarns like this. And it kind of has like a heather look. I guess that's why they call it like overtone. They say it's got like darker versions of the shade and like lighter versions of the shade, like all mixed together. And they tell you to alternate your skeins. I don't know. I'm wondering if I could get away without doing that, because I kind of don't want to. But if I have to, I guess I will. It just depends on what I'm making. If I'm doing like a really textured sweater, I don't want to have to like alternate skeins like constantly. You know what I mean? But if I'm just doing a stockinette cardigan or something, then it wouldn't be a problem. But I don't want another stockinette sweater. I feel like I don't need many stockinette sweaters for myself. Unless it's a very special yarn. This was fun, and I think the sweater I'm going to be making for River is going to be stockinette. So I want to focus more on like textures, just because I've been knitting so much stockinette lately and have to knit more stockinette for both my designs that I'm working on. So once I get to like just knitting for fun for a little bit, I just want to do some textured knits, like some cables and stuff. So that's why I was kind of thinking tulip loop sweater for this. But it's going to be a little while before I can cast this on. So yes, please give me your input on that. I have one more acquisition that I also got from Birmingham. Every time I go to a yarn store, I want to get a sock yarn. This is like a purplish pinkish shade. It's a little hard. I feel like this looks pretty accurate. It's just the Cascade Heritage, and I will put the color on the screen because I do not have the oh wait, she stuck it in here. Hold on. I had them cake it up for me while I was there because I thought I was gonna use it. It's Dusty Orchid is the shade name. It's just the regular Cascade Heritage sock yarn. 80% or 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, very soft. It's a nice yarn. I've used it once before, but I never actually finished that pair of socks. And I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna knit with this yet, but while I was there, I hadn't brought my sock needles with me. So I thought like, oh, I'll just buy some here. And I saw these, which I've never tried. I got like some 9-inch circulars. I don't remember, these are 2.25. Has anyone ever knit like a lace sock pattern that they've converted to be on these these 9-inch circulars? Because I feel like you could just place stitch markers to like designate what would be needle 1 and needle 2, but I don't have any experience knitting socks in these, so I just don't know if it would be difficult. It feels like I can't really imagine doing it. It kind of feels like it'd be a little uncomfortable. But I wanted to be able to say I tried it, and they weren't like expensive. So if you have experience like using these, especially like adapting patterns that are, you know, not meant for these to be able to knit with these needles, please share your experience below. But I want to at least say I tried it. Maybe it's not the best idea for like lace socks, but I never really knit just plain stockinette socks. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. At least I can say I've tried. That is everything knitting-wise, so if you stayed just to hear about the giveaway, then I am going to talk about that now. So I am going to be giving away a $50 gift card to Knitting for Olive, which is like my favorite yarn brand, of course. And it's going to be pretty simple. All you have to do is be subscribed to me on YouTube and comment below and just tell me what you want to do with the yarn. And also to make sure that whoever I choose, it's going to be random, is the person that I contact. I would like you, if you're entering, to put some kind of contact info in your comment. It can just be like your Instagram account, or like if there's some other way you prefer to be contacted, you can put that, but Instagram's probably the easiest. I would hate to like pick somebody and then say like, hey, DM me, and like the wrong person DMs me or something. So this way I make sure I contact the winner correctly. So my next video should be out on this date next week. It depends on what day I publish this, so I'm going to put it on the screen. I'm going to be taking submissions like until right when I'm exporting that video. I will randomly pick a comment with like one of those random comment generators, and I will announce it in next week's video, and I will contact the winner. It's their gift cards are just PDFs, so it'll all be online. But yeah, so please just comment below what you will do with the yarn, or what you will get from Knitting for Olive with a $50 gift card. I'd love to hear like if you have any projects coming up that you plan on using their yarn for. And just be subscribed to me, contact some contact info. Give me some contact info, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And yeah, that is everything. Thank you again for 1,000 subscribers. If you're not already subscribed,
Please do that now.
You may do that now. And I will see you guys next week for another video. Bye!